It is 6 o'clock in the morning. It is 43 degrees outside. It is freaking cold. And I have to go to the bathroom. I have to go outside into the 43 degree weather and walk to the bathroom. The bathroom itself is going to be freezing. That door stays open all night long. Thank you, Scott Glines. Linda states, and our court system. I don't think judges understand that an unethical person is going to continue being unethical until they are given a reason to stop, until they know that they can no longer get away with it. Linda states for years was not concerned at all. I took her to civil court and sued her. I lost. I threatened how many times to go to the State Bar of California, which I have wanted to for a long time, but because of the continuous circumstances I am put in, and that I could no longer afford my attorney, I had to start representing myself. Everything took longer for me to try to figure out our legal system. And every step of the way, Linda States showed no concern at all that I would expose her unethical conduct. Right before the motion to compel hearing, she asked to meet with me in private in the back. So we went in a room, her and Scott Glines. And as soon as I walked in that room, I said, "Do you mind if I record this?" And she said, "No, you're not allowed to record it." And I said, "Yes, I am, if you give me permission." And she said, "No, I do not give permission." I do not have verbal conversations with people like that. Because you know why? I understand them. I understand how they are, who they are. And apparently our court system has no idea. People like that exist. People like that are creating our injustice system and the judges by allowing it to happen. So in that room in the back before the motion to compel hearing, Linda States said to me, "Is there any way we can just, settle this now, or what will it take to make you happy?" I think I can't think off the top of my head, but about 20 requests, because they supplied nothing. The basic information, financial income information, just the most basic information, personal expense documentation. She gave me nothing because she knew our system. She knew how to play it every step of the way. She was like this with my attorney when I could afford an attorney. But as soon as I started representing myself, that was it. There was no rationality even with my former attorney. But maybe it just became loud and clear because now I've been representing myself for the last 2 years or more, 3 years. But she's had absolutely no concern. Okay, so she says to me back in the motion to compel, before the motion to compel in the little room in the back, if there was anything that they could, I could tell them that they would be able to supply at this point. And I said, we are so far beyond the point of being able to say this. If I even thought you would supply it at this point, I do not believe anything she says. I told her that. I said that, no, we're here at this point now. Why do we even have to get to this point? I want to be in front of a judge. Me thinking I don't know how I could still think this, that a judge would do something. But a judge ignores ethics. It is astonishing. So, and she knew that. She said, we're going to go in there. The judge is going to give you 5 minutes of time. He may ask you about one thing, but you're only going to be given 5 minutes by that judge. So she knew. All she had to do was keep up that lie for 5 minutes in a hearing, right? Anybody can give well, how I've learned they do it is they can give a lie that seems or apparently so fits the circumstances of that moment. But if you know the surrounding circumstances, you know the lie to be a lie. She had provided like a 10-page, you're only allowed 10 pages for her reply to my motion to compel. In there, she lied through the whole thing, saying for nearly every single document, it does not exist. It does not exist. We told her this already. It does not exist. Okay? Even though in my previous request, she never said it does not exist, because these documents do exist. And that's kind of where she got caught in that hearing. They're trying to say the documents do not exist. For example, my ex's business records. He is a sole proprietor, right? And so he doesn't get a W-2 like a normal person would from an employer. So what's required to show his business income, or his income, which is also his business income? So he provided a profit and loss statement, which was completely fabricated. But how do you prove that the profit and loss statement is completely fabricated? You have to see his general ledger. You can title that report whatever you desire. General ledger, and this is where he played some of his games. He previously called it the balance sheet detail. He then renamed it and called it the profit loss detail, which he submitted with only in reply to my motion to compel, saying that I had never asked for that document before, but I had repeatedly asked for that document. Also, not only the general ledger, which is the breakdown of business expenses, okay, but then you need to show the supporting documentation. Where are your receipts? Where are the documents that say you actually spent this money? So your profit and loss statement is going to be, this is a very rough example, profit and loss statement. There are 10 categories that you categorize your business expenses: auto expenses, meals, travel, repairs, office supplies, those kind of things. That profit and loss statement is a broad overview of what your expenses are for the year. So your auto expenses were $10,000. Your office supplies were $5,000. Your meals were $2,000, right? So now what is the breakdown of that? That's your general ledger, or as he called it originally, his balance sheet detail, then renamed it to his profit and loss detail. That report is the individual expenses now within, say, auto. Your gas. I spent $75 in gas on December 6th. I spent $62 in gas on this date. If it's a vehicle that is used for work purposes, right, those expenses are business expenses. I needed new tires on the truck. They were $642. Okay, those breakdown of expenses come on your profit and loss detail. Now, just because numbers are on a sheet of paper, which is really, truly, in fact, what a profit and loss detail means, does not mean you actually spent that money. So you have to show the receipts that you actually spent that money. All right? Then, on top of that, the receipts don't even necessarily show that they were business expenses, right? You have personal expenses. You spend money on gas for personal expenses. So some of them could potentially be personal expenses anyway, but he's writing them off as business expenses. I'm getting a little deep into this. All right, let me back up a little. Because his business was run out of the home, he has expenses that are both personal expenses and business expenses, right? So I'm going to take the AT&T bill as an example. It's his cell phone. Now, he uses it for work purposes, but as it is his only phone, it is also his personal phone. So what is supposed to happen is a percentage of that phone bill is applied toward business expenses and a percentage is applied toward personal expenses. The importance of me receiving a copy of the bill is that he also has continued to pay for the cell phones for 2 of our children. I pay for 1, he pays for 2. The full expense of the AT&T bill, he has listed on his profit and loss detail. So he is using as a business expense the cost to pay for the cell phones for my children. That is not a business expense. That is a personal expense. And without providing the AT&T bill, there's no way that I can prove that he is claiming as a business expense personal expenses, right? And what did he say about the AT&T bill? It does not exist. It does not exist. And so I think at the motion to compel hearing, that's where the judge started not believing Linda States. Because who cannot get a copy of your AT&T bill? When we started getting into the fine details, that's where she started breaking down. She wasn't prepared for some of the questions that would come up with an answer that even sounded reasonable. I think that's when the judge started seeing, wait a minute, anybody can get a copy of an AT&T bill. And then I think the judge started questioning her. What about his other business expenses? Why couldn't he supply any? Because I said he supplied no documentation of his business expenses at all for RFPD number 2, which would have covered 2020, 2021, and 2022. He did provide business expense receipts for 2018 and 2019 with my RFPD number 1 request when I had an attorney. The expenses that he provided with RFPD number 1 were fraudulent receipts. They were overwhelmingly for personal purchases. Walmart groceries, Rayleigh's groceries, Target lipstick, Target nail polish, GameStop, my son's birthday present, our anniversary dinner, pages and pages and pages of personal expenses that he was claiming as business expenses. So that was RFPD number 1 for 2 years worth of expenses he provided, claiming he made no money for 6 years. Let's see, 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22. For 5 years, he claimed he made, I'm going to say a total of $25,000. And I don't even think it comes to that much, is what he's claiming on his profit and loss detail sheets. When in fact, he brought in over $1.2 million, but after business expenses, he's claiming he made, I think it's maybe $22,000 total. One of the years, he's claiming he made negative $12,000. One of the years he's claiming he made negative $3,000. Now, the reason I believe, it's apparent from everything that I read, I just don't have the documentation to prove it in a court of law, that he's saying he made $0 is basically he takes all of his income. Okay, so a normal person who lives paycheck to paycheck, you get your paycheck, you spend all of your paycheck, you have no money left, right? You get your next paycheck, you spend it all on your rent, on your phone bill, on food, on going to a movie, whatever. There's nothing left. That is what Scott Glines did. He had business income. That was no doubt. There was income there that showed the business brought in over $1.2 million. Now, the expenses, what he did was took all of the expenses from his business bank account statements and all of the expenses from his personal account statements and claimed those all as business expenses, right? So $1.2 million, all of your expenses, you spend all of your money, you have nothing left. That's what he did. And he has claimed this entire time that he has made zero money. But because of the discovery process and him not providing the documents, I have not been able to go get support because I can't prove it. And with him claiming he made $0, and with I was making money at the time, he was trying to get child support from me. On top of him bringing in $1.2 million, he has paid no taxes in 6 years. So he's paid no taxes. So that does not mean, I don't know, 30%, 40%, 50%, whatever the amount would be on $1.2 million. He did not pay taxes. So that was $1.2 million in his pocket. And here I sit in the fucking parking lot. He did this to me. It's not like, oh, my ex-husband was making a minimum wage job. Yeah, he threw you out. He did the wrong thing. He put you in this situation. He repeatedly lied about everything. But he wasn't earning enough money. And, it is what it is. No, every single step of the way that man has done the wrong thing to cause harm to me and my children. And our court system has been the weapon. His unethical attorney is a bullet right there with him. And I'll get more into all the details. I'm a little surprised I got into the details of that right now. When I continue filing my State Bar of California complaint. However, I have to put that on hold because I found out today that the Court of Appeals, 3rd District Court of Appeals, granted my extension for my brief. So I have until November 22nd to file my brief, which is for my domestic violence restraining order trial, where the judge did not even listen to any of these matters. Him failing to provide these documents, him providing false documents. Financial control is domestic abuse. And that judge should have listened to my evidence, my testimony, but he did not. There are laws specifically saying, yes, these matters get to be heard in a domestic violence trial. There is case law supporting financial control is abuse. And so I have to prepare my brief and submit it by November 22nd. Okay, so I'm going to try to get back to sleep. I warmed up the car a bit. That's my thoughts for now.